Yo, sup everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast, back after a 2-week hiatus. Thank you for being patient, joining us here again in studio. This episode is brought to you by Continental Belts and Hoses. You know, when you're under the hood doing your maintenance of your car, you don't always think about your belts and your hoses, but because you're thinking about oil, you're thinking about tires, you're thinking about the in-your-face consumables, but belts and hoses can dry, they can crack over time, and if they do, you can end up with coolant leaks, oil leaks, fuel leaks, or worse, the car could throw a belt, and if it's an interference motor, you got a big problem. Continental belts are OE in tens of millions of Chrysler, Dodge, Ford, and GM vehicles that roll off the assembly line. They're also OE, that's original equipment, on the majority of BMWs and Volkswagens. Now, Continental is launching the aftermarket multi-V belt with the OE pedigree. It's their OE Technology Series belts that are fanatically engineered for perfect fit, form, and function. And Continental has an OE Technology Series multi-V belt for 98% of the vehicles on the road in the US and Canada. Hey, you get enough surprises working on cars and trucks. A belt should not be one of them. Go with the Continental OE Technology Series multi-V belt, the belt with the OE pedigree. Get the full story at oetechnologyseries.com. We are also brought to you by Migliore Luxury Car Care Products. Migliore is known for making the best of the best when it comes to car care. Their product line is handmade and poured right here in the USA in my home state of Connecticut. Migliore's Strata coating is a ceramic coating treatment you can easily apply yourself. It adds a ton of gloss, lasts over a year, and keeps your car looking great for longer in between washes. It's extremely hydrophobic, meaning water just sheets right off, making maintenance so much easier. Strata coating has over 100 positive reviews on Amazon. If you need vetting, with spring right around the corner, you can use code TST at checkout at migliorewax.com. That's MIGLIORE wax.com for 10% off your order. migliorewax.com. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, the Brio Beardscape. Mine is back in the game. I brought it to the East Coast with me so I could look good on my wedding day, and whether you're at home or on the road, the Beardscape has you covered. You know, just about every guy has had a bad experience with a bad trimmer. You know, the kind you buy at the drugstore, they're like, you know, it's either the blades go bad or the motor dies or it's just a disaster. But I've been using the Beardscape for over a year now. It's reliable, it's dependable, it's tough. The motors has got a lot of power. You don't get those tugs. The blades stay really sharp. You don't have to oil them as often as the steel blades because it's got a ceramic blade. It stays sharper longer than steel. It's great. It's powerful. One charge lasts a long time. I've been using it for like over a year. Like I said, it's rad. It may be time for you too to upgrade to the Beardscape. Go to Brio for Life. That's Brio, the number 4life.com, and use code SMOKING at checkout. Code SMOKING at checkout to get the best price on the internet on the Brio Beardscape. Right, folks, listen, this one, the audio is a little, I'm not even really sure yet because I'm sending it in right now. Because of the wedding and the scheduling, the podcasting has gone a little wonky. So right now, I'm on the Toyota GR Supra launch in Virginia, Summit Point racetrack, with not the total equipment, so there's no video, but and I'm just using my basic audio recorder, so the audio is probably pretty shanty, but we have an all-star lineup. We've got Patrick George of Jalopnik, we've got Jason Fenske of Engineering Explained, we've got Mark, aka Savage Geese from YouTube, we've got my friend Jim Resnick, a lifelong automotive journalist and one of my great press launch driving partners, and we've got Paul and Todd of Everyday Driver, all on one show. It's a heavy hitter show. So I apologize in advance about the audio. I'm doing the best I can considering I'm on the road. I hope the conversation and the fact that we've got these people all in one place makes up for it. And yeah, live from the bar after the Supra launch, it's the Smoking Tire Podcast. Here we go.
I'm gonna go find the restroom.
And it is, and it's the Smoking Tire Podcast, and welcome to our freeform jazz odyssey
Yes.
of the Smoking Tire Podcast.
Yeah, hey, man.
This is going to be very weird episode of the show because on one hand it's recorded in sort of an emergency fashion in the Salamander Resort in Virginia in a bar, and so the audio quality is going to be dog shit. On the other hand, it's going to be an all-star who's who of content creators that flow by my presence. Just in my presence, we've got Nelson Ireson, Patrick George, and Jason Fenske. What's happening, boys?
I prefer to be called influencer rather than content creator.
We're influencers here, yes.
It's the worst term ever.
I'm definitely not an influencer. There's no influence.
Patrick George is definitely not an influencer.
Listen, man, I gotta say, I've been saying this for years. Love creating content. Love it. I can't lie.
So, and we got Jim Resnick coming in. This is gonna be the After Hours podcast. This is what happens when you get married and decide to not make content for 2 weeks. You're like, I need a show now. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
You're fucking killing. Did you just hit 2 million?
2 billion, actually.
2 million
yeah.
subs?
Just rolled over 2 billion.
2 million subs.
No, I heard 2 trillion. I heard
Oh, it's 2 trillion. Yeah, he's right.
He has made America great again.
Oh, no. I don't want this. I'm done.
The day Donald Trump retweets an engineering explain tweet, that's gonna be the best fucking Jalopnik story I've ever had the pleasure of writing.
That'll be an in-depth, we need like a Torchinsky to cartoon that. Well, we're not allowed to talk to Everyday Driver boys over in the side. We need more drinks and a corner table. Wait, so let's bring. Is there waiter service? Can we bring the? All right, let's get drinks. And then move to the table. That table. What about the room in there? Can we go in there?
Is this your first one-take podcast?
This is my first time ever bringing the voice recorder into the bar.
Wow.
So like,
Are you live now?
yes. So not live, but like it's recording. So
Live to tape.
remember the Opie and Anthony
Recording
show back
before
in
a live
the day?
studio audience.
So Opie is like one of my heroes, and I've been fortunate enough to become friends with him in my adulthood.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do radio anymore. He now has a podcast, and he does this.
Yeah.
And I invited him to come do something with me, and he literally brought this Zoom recorder and just walked. And I was like, "You're my hero, and you're so hood." What? And but I was like, if my hero can walk around a bar with a Zoom recorder,
So can I.
so can I.
Yeah.
So Jim Resnick, former Smoking Tire podcast guest, how are you, sir?
I am well. How are you?
It's weird we can't talk about Supra. We're here. It's embargoed.
Well, we can talk about it. We just
we
can't
can
talk about how it drives.
We can speculate.
Yes.
How do you think it looks sitting outside this hotel?
I think it looks like a new Supra.
Wait, why can we only speculate?
Because the embargo is May 12th and this goes up on May 7th. Driving impression.
Have you driven it?
No, have you?
Then you can say whatever you want about it. I haven't driven it either.
I have, so I gotta
You
watch
drove
myself.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I drove the prototype, too.
don't impress us with your driving.
But you have to watch yourself anyway, so.
Fair enough.
You are part of a automotive media power couple, Nelson.
That's
How does
true.
that feel?
I don't know. Normal?
No, I'm curious. No, seriously, because like I used to date a car chick, and my new wife is not really into cars.
Yeah.
But like I'm sorry. Are you married to Abigail?
Not
No, you're
strictly
dating
speaking,
Abigail.
but yes.
I like your woman, Abigail. She's
pretty
rad.
rad,
She's
yeah.
rad.
Yeah.
You and Abigail are like you and Jim. You guys are like my press launch buddies.
Yeah.
So what's it like to be in a relationship with someone who is into cars and does the same thing that you do with cars? Do you ever get a break from it?
Yes. So we both seek breaks from it constantly because it's what we do for work.
Right.
But flip side, we both enjoy it, so we do go and geek out a little
So
bit.
do you have a rule of like no talking about cars at dinner?
No.
Okay.
No, we don't need that kind of rule. No.
It's an ever-present thing, probably.
The best part is, though, really, is that she gets it. Right?
Yeah.
Like when I'm on the road
Yeah.
doing something, she's like, yeah. You know, he's not banging 14 women. He's just driving a car.
Yeah.
You know,
You're not on
because
vacation.
Yeah.
You're hanging out with a bunch of people you'd probably prefer to not be hanging out with
for the most part. Yeah.
and driving a car.
Present company excluded, of course.
Wait, can we meander around this table because we've got Paul and Todd of Everyday Driver.
Hey, man,
What's
how are
happening,
you?
boys?
Hey, nice to see you,
to be
man.
here, man. I swear
We
everyone's
brought
here.
the podcast
It's
to
actually
the
nice.
bar this
Exactly.
time.
It's the moving podcast. Yeah,
This
for
is
sure.
going to be great or a fucking nightmare. I'm not really sure.
Background noise could be terrible or it could be actually pretty good, right?
The Zoom H4n.
Yeah,
I'm
you like it?
always shocked at how good.
Sponsored by Zune H4n.
No, I paid retail for this bitch And you know what, Fenske? I'll tell you something, Fenske. The power button. Look at my Zoom. See, it has no power button. That fell off on day one. So I bought this for like $400. The power button fell out, and now every time I want to power it on, I have to find a stick. So you should have.
In spite of that, he is still promoting
Imagine,
quality. Yeah.
awesome. Like me having like 7 like one-take cars I'm testing. And these fans who are so excited to see me, they expect a professional. They're already kind of in shock that there's no film crew and it's just me.
Yes.
And I go, everybody, look for a stick.
I need a stick.
I left one here last time.
Totally.
Todd and I were just remarking that it has been, I think I was here when I was 15. You were here when you were 10. Just
The DC area.
in
Here.
this DC
The DC
area.
area.
Just
Yeah.
have not
You
been
guys
here.
haven't done a Summit Point press launch?
not
Summit Point
done
press
Summit
launch
Point
seems pretty
before.
common.
It's been a long time, so we're looking forward to not just new car, but new track as well. Have you done this track before?
So I have my Summit Point experience is very interesting.
Okay.
This is my 6th time at Summit Point.
Okay. Do you feel like you know the track?
I know the track. Yeah, I know the track. That's
it
not
easy
a
to pick
problem.
up?
Yeah. That's
Okay,
not a
okay.
problem. The
All right.
problem is it's not going to be a problem for us because at least according to the software, I am 5 for 5 with heavy rain at this track.
You were saying that.
And every car I've tried to test here, I'll go through the list.
Okay.
Hellcat Challenger, Hellcat Charger, Viper TA, Corvette Z06, Shelby GT3.
suited for bad
Excellent
weather,
rain cars.
essentially.
I understand.
best
Excellent cars
rain
in the rain.
cars.
Yes, perfect.
Turbo Cayman. Oh, Mark from Savage Geese. Not even Mark from Savage Geese. You are.
Yeah, I am.
You
Yes,
are Savage
it's
Geese.
singular. Yeah.
The Savage Goose.
The Savage Goose is here.
I told you, fucks, it's going to be an all-star
Everyone
cast
is
in this
here.
bitch.
Everyone is here.
This is what's happened.
Yeah.
The audio is terrible, but the quality of the guest is very high.
I don't know about the quality
What's
of
happening,
the guest.
brother?
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm great. What are you doing out here?
Driving the Supra, you?
I'm going to drive the Supra.
How did you find the taste of the Supra water in our airport transfer?
Oh, it's one of the best water bottle productions I've ever had. It's a really good year.
Bring your own bottles and not waste plastic. I did not drink from those
They
bottles.
provided us a bottle. Did you, in your hotel room, get the...
That one's fine to use.
Not in the car on the way.
Can I, wait,
Not in the car from the airport.
can I ask you guys a real question?
All right, go.
The name of this new vehicle that we're all here to drive is the GR Supra.
Yes.
And we understand this is from Gazoo Racing. That's and the manufacturers are all want to integrate the racing team into the thing, right? Once we leave this event, is anyone planning to call this fucking thing the GR Supra?
No, I won't now.
It's the Supra the end. I don't call any Porsche the Manti Racing Porsche. Do you?
Even the Manti Racing Porsche?
I don't know what GR is.
Gazoo Racing.
Yeah, I mean, but aside from that, like I know what it stands for, but that's the end of my knowledge of Gazoo Racing.
Right, like it doesn't have the brand quality looking for. Patrick George,
Gravitas.
what we were just as you arrive, what are you drinking there, buddy?
Whiskey.
Good man.
Yeah.
I don't yet know what this audio thing will do, so I'm trying to use it like a news anchor microphone.
It's going to be good. It's going to be really
It's probably going to be horrible. And
It's too bad there isn't a live stream of this
pointing
because it's
that
fun to
way.
watch as well. It's
what
fun
are you
to see as
saying?
well.
I said it's probably pointing that way right now.
no, it's supposed to. I have it set for universal. It should be okay, actually. I think we're all going to be.
I think we should listen to Fenske because he's probably smarter than all of us.
But I make
mean,
stuff
yeah.
up constantly, and that's what was happening.
Patrick, GR Supra.
Yeah.
Great. Do you
Great
plan?
Supra.
Do you plan to call it that in anything ever?
Probably not. I think that's really bad for SEO on just the most
Right?
basic level, and just on a larger level, no one's gonna fucking call it that ever. So
I don't understand. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think it's because?
But Supra is amazing SEO on Toyota's part.
Totally true. And that script font, they've stuck with that. Like that's good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will defend. So I have been someone who's driven like a lot of modified cars.
Yeah.
I do think that the BMW 335 E92 and its descendants are the new Supra, and so the use of the BMW engine with the new is not offensive to me in any way. Is that?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I have
no driving impressions.
No driving impressions, that's embargoed. But I have no problem with that because, okay, what are the underpinnings of this car? It's a BMW. I'm sorry, does BMW make bad cars?
They don't accept the Z4.
Yes, which they're working.
I'm just kidding. I don't think the Z4 is okay. No, the Z4 is okay.
Isn't that also new?
I haven't driven the new one. I only drove the old one.
Right. The guy you need to talk to this trip, Tetsuya Tada. He's the chief performance engineer for Toyota. He's the chief engineer for this car. Has all kinds of shit to ditch if you let him do it. He says, Supra's got to have an inline six. That's why they went to BMW in the first place. BMW says, we want to do another sports car, but they quasi-admit to him, the current Z4 we have, it's ass. Like, no one likes it. It's not a good car. And so he's
It wasn't good, but the Z4 GT3 was sick!
Yes, but that's a racing car.
I know.
We're talking about cars that human beings
Normal
can drive.
people can buy. Yeah.
So Toyota...
Don't bring reality into my fantasy,
So
bro.
if you believe the Toyota guy, Toyota then helps them make a car that's worth a damn to drive. Yeah.
Wait, hey, Todd, do me a favor. Can you go take my phone and go and... Wait, we need someone to take an all-star photo of this all-star.
Yeah.
But you need to be in it. Wait, can you find a
posterity.
nobody to take this picture?
Sean Evans is here.
Find a nobody to take this picture.
That's fine.
Oh boy! Oh, this all-star pot. We got Paul and Todd. We got Fenske. We got Patrick George. We got Nelson Iverson, Jim Resnick. We got Mark Savage Geese.
We got so many white guys. We got all the white guys.
Listen, you have POCs under your employ, Patrick. How do you feel about that?
I'm ecstatic about it.
I talked to Christian Lee.
Supra launch,
I talked to
but-
Christian Lee, and she said that the white man usurped. How do you feel about that?
It was a talk about a different one. I'm one of the good ones.
This is cold as ice. Yeah. Where do we go? Who's driven something really good recently? Who wants to drop a bomb on this podcast right now?
We've driven stuff, but it's coming out of it.
What do you got? So I think a lot of people say, like, okay, because it's underpinnings or a Z4, it can't get the Supra name. And I kind of agree with the mentality of, like, it's hard to get passionate about something that is called a Supra when it's underpinnings or a Z4. But I think if I were to, like, do some soul searching and say, Jason, what would you do if you were Toyota? And I knew I could sell more cars by calling it Supra than calling it something else. What would I personally do? I'd call it a Supra.
What about the fact that the Mark IV Supra was based on a shortened SC300 chassis and not the other way around? If you think about it that way, actually this is really on brand, isn't it?
But that's Lexus, yeah?
It is, but it was Lexus when Lexus was big and floaty.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not Lexus that looks like the Shredder helmet.
I think it's more of a cost thing than they'll admit. Global sports car market is in decline. It's going down. All right, Toyota's got more money than God. They sell more RAV4s than Porsche sells cars, period. You think they can be like, today, one day.
Right.
So you think they can be like, you know what, fuck it. Let's just dump a bunch of money into a sports car no one's going to buy. No, you don't have more money than God by making stupid-ass decisions by that. So that's when they say, go out and find somebody who's going to partner with us. They'd be like, that was like one.
Where's the trickle down in that carbon tech, by the way? I was expecting some trickle down.
Yeah.
Where's the LFA trickle down?
The loom they had that made its own
Yeah.
fiber.
Are they just like weaving Akio Toyota sweaters?
Iron Man suits. He's making like carbon fiber fucking Iron Man
They're
suits.
just putting Akio
Yeah.
Toyota through the loom
Yes.
and weaving a suit around.
But they say that when like the climate apocalypse happens, the ultra billionaires will be most prepared. It's shit like that is why.
Bro, you don't think Elon, all of this bullshit is preparing Elon to Exodus with his 5 homies?
I look forward.
100%.
I look forward to him being my mayor on Mars one day. It's Mayor Musk for life.
Bro, Elon is in his office going, dun 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 dun, Exodus, movement of Ja people, and just getting ready to get his own ass to Mars. He is singularly focused. He's like, it's fucked down here. Me and some homies can
positive
dip.
coverage that Elon's gotten from some auto journalists probably in the past 2 years.
Quite some time, yeah.
Can I take an informal poll? What is the odds that a Model 3 leased today will wake up and become a robo-taxi? Anyone want to take that fucking bet? Anybody?
No,
Room full
I don't
of
have anybody to lose.
Hold on. I have a comment
Tesla
here.
owner,
So,
Fenske.
no, I know I do. I do have a Tesla, so that's my disclaimer. I don't own Tesla stock, so there, that's out there.
Hashtag $ TSLA long. TSLA long.
I opened up the print version of Motor Trend where they had the Supra before everybody got to do it, and they did their little spiel on the Supra.
You mean Motor Trend from like YouTube?
No, Motor Trend, like the magazine with the pages. And
You mean Motor Trend like television?
You gotta use
like
your
the TV
hands.
show?
It's a lot of work. So I'm flipping through it, and literally, okay, there's an article, and I'll find a photo and send it to you guys. But it says like Tesla's autonomy is a lot closer to what they say it is than you really think.
Really?
And I thought, this is a car journalist saying Tesla's autonomy is closer to reality than we actually think.
Well,
and I know that that's not the case.
Well.
but everyone gives Elon crap for being the only person touting that story, when in reality, car journalists are doing the same.
Who wrote the story, Fenske?
I don't remember.
We all know how much
find
Motor
out. It's
Trend
in
nailed
Motor
the
Trend.
Apple car. They got 100% right. That's why 50% of all cars today are Apple cars. Just like Motor Trend 100% got right on their cover years ago.
Okay, but if it's anything like how he's got the SEC wrapped around his little finger, and they can't
Hasn't
really
he paid
do
2
anything
fines in the
anymore.
last 2 months?
Yeah, does that really
Haven't
matter?
you? I think
Does he
SEC
really
also-
care?
Haven't we all paid SEC? You guys all pay SEC fines like daily, right? All right, here, I need a drink, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hand this to... I'm going to hand it to Jason Fenske.
It's going to be an ad. YouTube.com/engineeringexplain. Twitter.com/ so we're here to drive the new Supra.
You don't need more.
Okay, yeah, but you get there by collaborating and then forcing your message onto others.
The forcing part's what I'm
But I like the idea. While
We
I,
post one of his videos. Fenske comes to my house with a baseball bat, and he's holding my dog in his arm. He's like, "Hey, Patrick, how's it going?" I'm like, "Okay, fine, it's cool. We'll get the newest one. Just put him down, please, please."
That's how he's done it.
and it's how Patrick convinced me to sell my Tesla stocks.
I found if we go in the other room, there's like a beautiful round table with like 8 seats. Can we transit in there and better audio and save our audience? I'm going to give this to Paul to take with you while I wait for my drink.
We have hijacked Matt's podcast. We're actually moving into the other room right now to where it's a lot quieter. This is a lot better. Yes, by the way, Everyday Driver. So Jason's asking me about my website. So Todd and I have everydaydriver.com. And, you know, if you want to go on our pilgrimage trip, by the way, the pilgrimage trip is this year. Be sure to sign up. And I'm currently waiting for everybody to figure out what to do. Oh, hey, check it out. We've got a Lazy Susan. Yeah, we've got the Lazy Susan. Sure. Okay, so we're starting here. All right, so we've got to take examples. Just make sure it doesn't fall over.
JasonFenske.com.
Yeah. You already had your turn.
That's not actually a website. Wait, here we go.
Do you know the URL? So if we have the Lazy Susan, and then we put the recorder in the pint glass, right?
Wow.
This is either going to be the best show we've ever done.
And we spin it around, and that's how Jeff Emmerich invented flanging.
Wait, hang on.
That 70 show
We have to
podcast.
send. Yeah. This is it? Does this work from a distance?
Check, yes. I think so.
I have no sound. So, all right, in order. We've got Jim, we've got Mark, we've got Fenske, we've got Patrick. I'm over here, and then we've got Paul and Todd on the Lazy Susan.
Yes.
So
This is. I so wish there was a live feed.
too?
I should be. This is insane.
You should be getting videos.
Yes.
So I'm basically operating a switcher board by spinning the Lazy Susan.
Your readers are gonna throw up.
Oh no! It's all gone wrong. Wait, what if maybe if I put it like this? Is this better? We need it's arrow resistance. It's all gone wrong. But
I can't believe this.
But maybe I shouldn't be in control because I'm just gonna dominate the talking.
We're bashing Elon. I'm talking about Elon right now, and we're talking about how he's got the SEC kind of in his hip pocket still, and the regulation. Come on, the regulation for full autonomy. Do you think that's going to happen anytime soon? It's here. The autonomy's already here. Waymo's proved that already.
It
exists.
Here's
Who cares?
my question. Right, if autonomy means the liability is off. Right? A computer's driving. Right? So if the liability's off, who is underwriting these fleets of cars? Do you think Elon or anyone with no money or even a current insurance company is prepared to underwrite?
Absolutely not.
A better question. Do you think that Uber and Lyft, when they have their robot cars, if they get their robot cars someday, are going to want to accept liability for that? The people that won't even fucking treat their employees as employees?
Yeah.
Fuck no.
They're striking, are they not? They're going to. Shortly, right?
This week, I think, something like that.
Yeah, but corporately isn't I think the only company who has accepted the liability is Audi.
Did Volvo say it too?
Volvo said when they have autonomous vehicles, they will accept all responsibility, but they haven't said we will have them.
Yeah.
They
By
haven't gone as far as
X date.
Audi. And Audi made that claim like 9 months ago.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
don't-
a big step.
Any company, I think, willing to step up and say we'll claim the liability is that's a heavy move, right?
It's a huge move, but it doesn't exist in regular customers' hands yet, and it won't for quite a while.
It can't, right? Because driving is super complicated.
Yeah.
Driving's really, really hard.
These robot cars, they do great in sunny Southern California when it's sunny and it's perfect. There's no rain or snow or assholes or
There are plenty of assholes. I live there.
Well,
But I just read in Motor Trend magazine that it's going to
I'm
happen.
noting a trend here. Hang on.
There's trends in motoring. Hello, ma'am.
Let's take a vote. Do you want the fireplace on?
Doesn't matter to us. Doesn't affect us. Fireplace.
I vote take it off because with body heat, it's just going to
Yeah, turn it off. Yeah, we don't need no stinking fireplace. That's okay.
We're all about reducing carbon footprint here. Yeah, that's what we can all agree on in this table, right?
Blazing Saddles?
It is hard. It is hard to fundamentally want to globally reduce carbon footprint and also be a car enthusiast. There is a bit of a controversy
Yeah, it
there.
doesn't work out. My wife is a conservation biologist. Like, her goal is to save the world. And meanwhile, I think gasoline-burning engines are some of the coolest things man's ever done.
I've had some really interesting conversations.
We're all about electric cars, so that there's more gas for the rest of us.
I've had some really interesting conversations with folks who work in environmental studies and whatnot about ships and commercial shipping versus passenger cars, because I feel it is in the best interest of many big companies with lobbying power to make us as consumers feel guilty about our habits,
100%.
while for profit they do not have to deal with the regulations that I get a letter every month that's like, you use 10% more water than your neighbor, or you use 5% less gas than your neighbor. Meanwhile,
right? To pretend that it's an individual responsibility, or to pretend that an individual can actually cure this, is silly. The math doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So we're like, if you go vegan and you drive an electric car, we're safe. We're not. It's not that simple, unfortunately.
Talk about, that's one part of it. It doesn't absolve cars, it doesn't absolve drivers, but talk about shipping, talk about cruise ships, talk about,
regulated.
The shipping. When I read about the shipping is so crazy. Now, I will say the study that I recently retweeted and quoted from that said something about 15 ships are dirtier than all the cars in the world. One of the people involved in that study actually DM'd me and said that study was not exactly perfect because it used extreme opposites of the cars burning the cleanest possible fuel and ships burning the dirtiest possible fuel, and the truth is that that it's a little more gray in the middle. Nevertheless, I think the comparison is still stark enough that it's horrible.
I think that the delta between those two realities is not that great.
Right. The ships do burn dirty fuel, and passenger cars do burn clean fuel.
Gallons of kerosene an hour for cruise ships.
Is that what it is? 10,000 an hour?
About that.
Oh my God.
Think it's per ship. Think about that.
But
why do we have cruise ships?
Are we saying this because we really believe it, or because we need to do mental gymnastics to absolve ourselves as car enthusiasts who are about to go dump a bunch of carbon into the air driving the new Supra and telling people how good or bad the Supra is?
I think we need to establish a level playing field and put things into perspective. That's how I feel.
I don't think anyone at this table thinks that cars don't contribute. Of
course not.
No.
Or that cars shouldn't be as clean as they can be.
Sure.
But I think that isn't there a difference between polluting because you have to get to your job or whatever, or even because sports cars are a thing, and polluting literally for profit. And pushing for deregulation.
But you also always need perspective. There are all these scrappage programs, and they started them in the 90s. But the reality is that hot rodders were the first recyclers. So to stick nails and bolts through old engines of 289 Mustang engines and stuff like that to kill them forever is false economy.
Well, it was just a 289. I mean,
just got to do it a favor.
Well, here's actually a question, because I've tried to figure out this myself and I don't have an answer. At what maybe you do. I'd love to get your perspective, and I think you know where I'm going.
I think I know where you're going.
At what point is it environmentally sound
5 years
to keep an old car, to buy an old car, have it run as good as it can, and keep it on the road, versus buying a new car?
So I was very curious about this, and in my video,
Jason Fenske of Engineering Explained.
Are electric cars actually worse for the environment, or whatever, however you want to phrase that question for the most views? That question.
Touche, sir.
I did quite a bit from an emissions standpoint. Production of a car is far less of an overall cost than driving that car. And
that's so funny. I've heard the opposite, actually.
Yes, and from an emissions standpoint, after about 5 years, if you were to go out and buy a Nissan Leaf, like the original one with a 30 to 40 kilowatt hour battery pack, in 5 years you're better off from an emissions standpoint. Now, materials, that's a different argument. But from an emissions standpoint, it's very quick. It's way quicker than I thought. Because I went in and I was like, what's the actual answer to this question? So I read tons and tons of papers on it, and it is very fast. That it actually, from an emissions standpoint, if you're worried about CO2 in the atmosphere, because it does turn out to be a greenhouse gas, and it turns out that means we hold more heat, and that turns out that means it gets hotter. Assuming you follow that like logic line, CO2 bad, 5 years, a new car can be better.
What about if you include, and maybe you don't have the answer to this, if you include the CO2 that it takes to build you that new car versus keeping a car on the road that's already here?
Right, so that's what I'm saying. So you're looking at literally like the amount of emissions produced in that car in a year. I don't have the exact percentages. I do have it in my video, but a new car is a certain amount of emissions, and let's say an electric car is 10,000 pounds of CO2 versus a gas car is 5,000 pounds of CO2. And then everyone says, whoa, electric cars are bad at the end, but you're literally only looking at the beginning of that story. So if you continue that story and say each year, this is how much each one puts out, very quickly, that old car catches up because each year it's putting out 5 times, 6 times as much in emissions. So it actually works out very quickly, where the argument, which is a very common argument, and I had the same thought, like, isn't it better to just use old stuff?
Not really.
Very debatable, and I would say no.
That's interesting. I like that.
As far as the old car argument, classic cars, and that they belch out more emissions. The duty cycle of your average classic car, if there is such a thing, is tiny. It's a statistical irrelevant factor compared to most modern cars.
My argument originally that Jason was addressing was actually to use an older car as a daily driver versus buying an electric car. That was on an episode of the podcast recently I talked about. But I think also someone had thrown in that it depends how the state that you're in produces its power. So in California, it pays off faster, and in
West
Illinois
Virginia,
or
it takes
Colorado, where there are coal-fired
so in certain states, it's actually not really cleaner or not much cleaner to drive an electric car.
We're based in Utah, and most of Utah's electricity comes from coal.
Right.
Some of the biggest coal mines in the U.S. are in Utah, and so we are. I think it's 60+% of the electricity in Utah is created by a coal-fired plant. Yeah. So clean coal, right? Anyway, so there's that. But it brings us back to the ship question, or your electricity question. Where's your electricity produced? We as consumers are only concerned about the thing we can see. Well, I have an electric car in my driveway, so it must be cleaner. There's no discussion about where the electricity comes from. There's no discussion about was the ship regulated. None of that. We can't see that in my driveway.
Supply chain.
So
exactly.
Where
none
the
of that.
materials come from,
And so this gets messy quick.
And wait, if you lease an electric car for 3 years and then move along to a new electric car, but the time is 5 years for it to pay off, have you actually done worse?
Jason, do you need to get a notepad, like a pen?
If that car continues in its duty cycle, if it's used as much as you would use it, that doesn't stop.
Yeah, somebody else is using it theoretically.
But you have continued using it while ordering up another car.
I think you should only look at yourself as an individual. When you start saying my car went on and someone else is using it, then you're complicating the equation unnecessarily. Look at your own self, one person. What am I doing? I had this car, I sold it, I got rid of it, and I bought this. What is my pure environmental cost? Look at that. And then
I suppose it's much easier to keep track of.
Well, because you can assume anything happens with that car, but you don't know. So just control what you know.
Okay, so let's put this into terms people can understand. How do you be a sustainable car enthusiast? You like driving, you like fun cars. How do you do it responsibly?
You wear a bird helmet and you ride a bird scooter.
Oh, dude. I'm out. Yo, go to my Instagram to see some videos of people eating shit on birds.
I have. They are so unsafe. Apparently, like 50% of like reported accidents, they label as like critical.
Yeah, I saw that article today.
Like, are you kidding? Like they're incredibly unsafe.
Well, just think about the tarmac that we are driving cars on, and the cracks and the crags in that tarmac. Now we're rolling on a 4-inch
With
wheel.
no suspension.
No suspension. We're standing up, and our steering column is vertical. Okay.
What could possibly go
on? In LA, have you guys seen the wheels yet? Wheels are the new ones.
These the ones that just leave everywhere?
So the wheels are the new ones. It's there's like bird, lime, jump. So wheels are mini bicycles.
Okay.
They're little electric bicycles, and they're a little bit bigger than bird scooters, and they have like a 10-inch wheel with a pneumatic tire. So at the very least, they're way less sketchy than birds and limes. Like birds are the best of the scooters, I think. Limes have the sketchiest steering geometry. Like you never want to ride a lime drunk home from a bar. Ever. It's so shady.
It's just the only way they ride them.
If you ever wanted to write e-scooters ranked, that's the I would pay for
You want to rank all the e-scooters?
I wouldn't mind it actually, because I haven't ridden any of them. Because every time I hear about them, it's like this person died, and it's like
they're all available. Every one of them is available right outside my home.
So do it.
I could download all 14 apps.
The people were throwing bird scooters in the ocean.
Oh yeah, there's a sick Instagram called Bird Graveyard that's just people abusing scooters, and they throw them in the ocean. They let them on fire. The homeless people in Venice, where I live, the homeless people figured out how to hack them. So they just remove all the GPS and credit card hardware and just ride them shits.
Oh wow! Oh my God.
And yeah, you ever see a guy on a bird scooter ask you for money? It's fucking weird. It's weird as hell. And there are multiple.
Ford buy one of the companies.
Ford does own one of them. I don't know which one. And my friend Jeb owns Bolt. And Bolt is the one which is partnered with Usain Bolt. And it's like they're luxurious. The scooters have like disc brakes and suspensions.
And what color are they?
Black and yellow.
Okay.
Usain Bolt colors.
Okay, Usain Bolt. None of the gold.
I'm so thankful.
Like P Cody, but for scooters, like M Cody, like the mobility. M Sodi, mobility scooters of the year. Let's do it.
I'm just so thankful that we have nothing in the future that I thought we'd have, like flying cars and time travel, but we have luxury e-scooters that you can rent in LA. Thank fucking God for that.
But to go back to your question, because I did bring this up for a fair reason. You were asking about like truly sustainable, and as far as I can think, like an electric scooter seems like the most sustainable form of transportation because the material cost is tiny, the size of it is tiny, the amount of mass that you're actually transferring from one location to another is extremely small. They're super efficient. So aside from the safety aspect, because we made roads for cars, not scooters, like
can I asterisk you? I would say electric bicycle.
Yeah, electric bicycle.
Electric bicycles. Have you guys tried an electric bicycle yet?
But how many groceries can you bring home on those?
I mean, not much.
It doesn't work.
How do you be a sustainable
more than your feet?
Sustainable car enthusiast, specifically if you like cars, how do you do that sustainably and ethically?
I think it's totally okay to have an old car if it's kept running well. I think your classic car is not statistically relevant to the environment.
It's one as opposed to fleet.
Yeah, honestly, if you've got a classic car or a couple of classic cars and you drive them once in a while, I think that's okay.
I think if you're putting in an honest effort to not be terrible for the world and you have a classic car, you're a fine individual.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. Yeah. Don't be a shitbag.
All right, Jason, I've got a video idea for you, and it has to do with pitch, because as enthusiasts, everybody salivates over carbon, and Utah is one of the states trying to get the coal mining, the pitch, that is converted into carbon fiber from about $12 a pound down to $5 or $6, which now actually democratizes it for use in electric cars that are heavy to begin with, and everybody wants electric cars to get lighter. So some sort of video that is rectifying our love for carbon, that it isn't ending, versus, you know, where electric cars are going from an enthusiast standpoint and not just, hey, I'm having a good warm feeling in my heart about driving it.
So what's the current argument that carbon is running out?
We've got to come up with one here. That's the point, is we love carbon fiber so much and nobody really thinks it through that the coal mining is very important to create the pitch, to create carbon fiber, to get the price of carbon fiber down.
Is coal mining for carbon fiber really a statistical thing versus coal mining to burn it?
It's not a huge part of it, but it's part of the equation.
Are we worried about mining coal, or are we worried about burning coal?
The burning is the bigger issue. It is both, though. Yeah. It is both, because like strip mining and like tearing down a mountain in order to create this minefield can be very damaging to certain ecological areas depending on what's going on there. So you can't purely say that like, okay, we didn't burn it, but we used it to make sweet Lexus LFA wheels. So
they are sweet. They're really sweet, dude.
Yeah, the steering wheels do look cool. I haven't driven one.
LFA, I strongly recommend. Strongly recommend LFA.
Then we lose, certain areas of natural beauty, like the staircase monument in Utah, which the Trump administration had put on a list too.
Who fucking undoes national monuments? What kind of a piece of shit do you have to be to go, you know what?
A prime piece of shit.
Teddy Roosevelt didn't know what he was talking about.
Literally everyone in America is like, national parks are what's up. And then it's like, let's just ruin it.
Yeah. By the way, when we started doing that in the 19-teens, the aughts and the teens and the early 20s, Europeans thought we were genius. We were geniuses because they didn't do any of that shit.
Now they don't have any, right?
Yeah, right. They don't have any of that shit.
It's a European thing.
Yeah. The whole Black Forest was just acid.
I go to national parks all the time. I like hiking, I like photography. I'm always out there, and I see a massively international tourist crowd.
Yeah, because they don't have it there.
Yeah. The Japanese by the fucking
Italians,
busload.
Germans, Western Europeans.
You want to be a celebrity, you go to a national park in a Lexus LX 570, and busloads of tourists will be like, who is this white person driving the $95,000 Lexus? And they're looking all over. They were freaking out. They were looking all over. Oh, this is Lexus 570. This is a Land Cruiser. Yeah. And they asked, I showed them the window sticker. Oh, 95,000. Yes. They were
that accent? Where are we from?
That's a Japanese salaryman. No, I can't do a Japanese salaryman. No.
I'm tracking over here.
Listen, I obviously need another drink. I'm gonna lazy Susan this recorder to. It's going to Mark. Mark's been all. Oh! Fumble! Who needs a drink? Anybody?
I would take a glass of water.
Water's a drink. Oh boy. All right. Well, you better be entertaining while you.
All right, you can go gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic.
Thank you.
We're all wasteful sons of bitches. We're here taking flights to get here. Driving cars.
Flights are insanely terrible. Like, flights are truly terrible.
I have this like horrible.
Yeah, but those planes would be flying if we were on them or not.
I have this horrible vision in the future where we're living in the climate apocalypse, and like I'm searching through the wasteland with my grandkids. Looking for like human skulls to devour so we can eat, and like human blood to drink. Yeah, and they're like, so Grandpa, what did you do before everything went to shit?
You're like, check it out. New Supra.
Kids, I fucking drove the cars and then told people whether the cars were any good or not. And they're like, oh, fuck you, Grandpa. I'm like, yeah, man, yeah. And that's my favorite.
That reminds me of the scene in Sleeper, the Woody Allen movie, where he's 200 years in the future, and he finds this old Volkswagen Beetle in the woods, and he gets in, and it starts. But yet it's 200 years in the future, and the car hasn't been touched in 200 years.
It seems apropos.
Yeah.
For a Beetle, yeah. It's of anything that would do that.
They do table service, guys. Don't worry. Someone's coming over. Did you just destroy my show while I was gone?
No, we tried hard, yeah.
We talked about airplanes.
Did you?
Yeah, it's cool.
I just saw that new Icon, like, personal light aircraft thing. Have you guys seen that thing?
Yeah.
It's like somewhere between an ultralight and a small plane. Do you guys know about this thing?
Do.
It looks cool. What's the story on it?
Very cool. They've had, it's been time to market. They've had some teething problems in development, as in test pilots killed kind of teething problems.
Do you need a license for that, though?
You need a sport pilot license is all you need.
Like
so it's
the
not a
base
full airplane
What's the
pilot
full
license.
name of it? It's like Icon
A5.
A5, right?
I believe it is.
Have you seen that thing?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Folding wings.
Yeah, like you can trailer it like a race car.
Exactly right.
Hi guys. Do you guys want a drink? I started gin and tonic from somebody. Gin and tonic. I would love a Tito's and soda and a round of waters for the table.
It's IKON, isn't it? People are chasing it.
I think it's ICON.
A5, yeah.
They're at the Santa Monica airport. I was just over there.
Have you seen them flying?
I haven't seen it fly. I saw their sales space, and it was very cool.
Yeah,
and then they brought it down to cars in copters this past weekend
Yeah.
on a trailer with the folded wings.
Which is the thing. I mean,
I'll tell you
Lake
what,
House.
my girl got me a flying lesson for my birthday, and little airplanes are not comfortable. They're hot and uncomfortable and old and shitty, and this looked almost like the interior of a car.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it looked actually like someone had considered a human's ergonomics when designing it, and that seemed interesting.
I agree. Yeah, those are very cool. You have a lake house. You can take off. You can cruise around, fold up your wings.
Can you land it on water?
Absolutely.
It lands on water. That's the thing.
That's one of the big things they
Can I
pushed.
bring this back to cars? Because I'm very curious about car journalists' opinion on something that I have no idea about.
Yeah.
When I sit in a car and I look at the interior, I have a zero gauge of being able to tell, is this nice or not? Like literally, I don't know. And then I hear very strong opinions about other people of this is trash, this is
From
wonderful.
a functional or an aesthetic standpoint?
From an aesthetic standpoint, is this a luxury or not luxury interior? I have no way
You're
to know
in the right place for it. I'll tell you what to do when you get out there on the track with Toyota. I want you to sit in the 86 that they have here.
Yeah.
Sit in the 86, drink it all in. Then I want you to go sit in the Supra. Because one of those really is a $25,000 car, and the other one really is a $50,000 car. And if you've had trouble distinguishing the two, you will feel the difference in your soul.
That was kind of a vague feeling thing, and I like. There's a
So
number.
you're asking for like a bullet point list of items that define a luxury car.
for.
Well, all right. So let's see. We get all of us. We get into a $60,000 luxury car. What are some of the things that define that $60,000? I'll start. The feel of buttons when you press them. They should be. They should let you know that you have pressed it successfully, but it should still be soft when you press it.
I agree. A material choice. So the color and trim people at design studios, material choice in particular. It's no longer a chrome-plated plastic piece in the interior. So now it's a hairline brush stainless, or it's a little bit more sophisticated materials and honesty of materials. Aston Martin is known to use metal pieces that look like metal. Surprisingly, it's not plastic that looks like metal. So things like that, and so they feel there's a temperature to that piece that I'm.
The last couple of years, I've heard a lot on press launches about engineers bragging that their metal is actual metal. I've heard that.
That to me just seems silly. That this is what like. I mean, again, it comes from someone who doesn't get it, so that's just me not getting
soft
it.
touch materials, real quick. Soft touch materials across the dash, not hard, cheap plastics.
Okay.
That's a big one. Quality of leather, if you have leather seats, and it should have leather seats. And I think also tech. When you're talking about tech, it should have a nice. If you're gonna have if every car now is gonna have a screen and a system you have to operate, it should look nice aesthetically. It should be fast, be responsive. It should be easy to use, easy to dial addresses in.
It should not require you to read the owner's manual from front to back.
Do you find there's a difference? I find I learned this. I forget when it was, like a few years ago. The Japanese customer expects to read the owner's manual cover to cover of their new car.
Well, the Germans say the same damn
The
thing.
Germans too, and whereas the Americans expect to be able to just intuitively figure everything out.
But if you think about it, what really is luxury in that perspective? Luxury is not having to refer to the manual.
Yeah.
It's experiencing something that is self-evident. You don't have to take a course.
like an iPhone.
It should be as well thought out,
intuitive
as an iOS device.
Yeah.
It should be right there. You don't need to be.
I'll give credit where it's due. Once you fuck with Tesla Model 3's interface, everything else does seem kind of silly. Right? You have a Model 3, Jason. Do you like the touchscreen and the nav and all that stuff?
I think of luxury in an objective way, and I think most people think of luxury in a subjective way, and that's why I think I like differentiate myself in a negative way, because I'm saying stuff that people don't actually care about versus what they do, which is feel, and I don't know what that feel is, and that's what I'm trying to get from this. Like, part of me is wondering, when you say soft touch material, like, okay, let's say the dash is this like really cushiony, beautiful, nice leather. But like, do you ever touch the dash? Like, so to me, like,
if I want it to feel nice when I do.
Yeah, but why are you touching the dash?
Because it's my car.
I've heard that argument before, and I will say that the hard plastic dash versus the soft touch dash, the hard stuff rattles more. Yeah. It reflects light.
It looks like
when there's dust on it, you can see it.
I like all those arguments.
Harder plastic, I can see when plastic is hard. I don't need to touch it to know that it's hard. I can tell.
So I think electric cars are objectively far more luxurious
100%
than
agree.
non-electric cars.
So NVH
but I got a lot of
is way
shit
better.
for saying that.
Yeah.
But NVH is so much better.
I thought my
response is so
Volt
much
was
better.
like mega luxurious. It had cloth interior. It was a base Volt.
Yeah.
I could feel the seams from the molded plastic, and yet I could drive in my own lane in California. That was some luxurious shit.
Yeah.
I could pass traffic. That was luxurious.
That's the ultimate luxury.
Yeah, my own lane? Hell yeah.
But I
Fuck a
just
Bentley.
drove-
That Bentley's sitting there. I'm going to buy a 50. Shit is dope.
I just drove Model 3 back to back with M3, and like from an acceleration standpoint, like there's a delay. It's a turbocharged 3-liter. When you put your foot down in M3, you wait for the gear shift. If it's an automatic, this is a manual, so you didn't.
Yeah.
But you wait for a gear shift, or you wait for a turbocharger, and you don't wait for any of that. And like, is it not luxury to get what you want when you ask for it? Like, I think that's luxury. And then the vibration thing, and then like the shifts. Like, even now, so many modern manuals, we don't drop revs because we do crazy emission stuff with our throttle body, and so
The rev hanging is the worst.
Shifting is rough, and it's like this isn't it's a nice, amazing, fun, really well handling vehicle. Great job, BMW. Yeah, the M3's good, but like from a luxury standpoint, can you argue that that's better?
Dude, an electric powertrain, I think, you know how if you've got a hot girl, right, and that hot girl drives a Skyline, she gets like a +2. Right? If she's a 6, but she's got a Skyline, she's an 8, right? That's like an EV. An EV powertrain, you can have the interior of a $30,000 car, but it feels luxurious like a $60,000 car because that EV powertrain gives you a +4 in the luxury department.
To back this up.
I'll tell you why.
This is very objective.
I'll tell you why I
scientific.
disagree. One of my favorite cars I drove last year, one I would actually love to own, Chevrolet Bolt. I like the Bolt a lot. I'm a huge fan of that car.
Absolutely.
Everyday driver, fans of the Bolt?
Yes,
Huge fans.
Inside,
Mistake for them to kill it.
They killed the Volt, not the Bolt.
the Bolt lives for now, but I mean, I'm sure they'll kill it to make more fucking Silverados until, whatever. Anyway, the problem
Bro,
is
the
inside-
Denali High Country Texas edition is where it's at, bro. There's no margins at all. We're not making a dime on this. We did it all for you.
Yeah. The inside of a Bolt.
Our margin, we're losing money on this Texas North
just like
Country
the
edition.
Yeah. The inside of a Bolt sucks. The seats suck. The dash sucks.
It's very
the screen's
dustbuster-like.
whatever. Yeah, it sucks in there.
Without
It
the
just
electric
sucks.
powertrain, the Bolt sucks.
Yeah,
It's a bad fit.
Yeah, it
Bolt
is.
has the best one-pedal driving. The stop in the one-pedal driving, the Bolt is like, you cannot perceive that it stopped. It literally just is like, wait, do we stop? Are we done moving?
Oh, you mean like how it behaves between 5 miles an hour and
their
0?
deceleration curve is like perfect.
Your little
Oh, the regen braking paddle.
so you
I
can
love the
control
braking
that.
paddle.
It makes
control
so much
the
sense.
distance.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think the move is a used ELR for $24,999. Anybody else?
Ooh, yeah.
They pay you to take those away. They pay you
Yo, the
money.
ELR was awesome. It was just too
It's a
expensive.
Volt.
It was
Cadillac
great.
Volt.
As well as ZDX behind it.
Wait, what?
Acura ZDX, ahead of its time, the hottest thing ever.
And you can pull it behind?
No, make this
But only a ZDX, no other vehicle.
Bro,
Only
in
the
30
ZDX.
years, a ZDX is a $150,000 car.
Yeah.
That's a Letwood car.
Did any of you guys ever drive a ZDX press car when it was new? Anybody?
Did not.
I did. It was the worst. It was literally a Honda Pilot with a Civic body put on it. It was a truck. It was a truck of trucks, and it had no rear seat room, no power, and no handling. It was a disaster. The worst. Wait, so Fenske, you bought a regular 3,
I bought a mid-range.
and then returned it immediately. You returned or sell it?
Well, I traded it in because it was after the 3-day window. So what happened, I kind of screwed myself on this, but when it was delivered, we got a big snowstorm. I decided, I'll wait, I'm not going to drive it yet because of this big snowstorm. So when I got my first impressions, I was like, I don't want this thing. I filmed my video, but I posted it. But then I realized I don't want this thing. It had 70 miles on it. They wouldn't take it back because it was after that 3-day window.
Oh, it's the worst.
But honestly, it was.
Did you get hosed?
No, it was a $500 loss. So.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, I think
They got hosed though, because this is what happened. So they took it back, they bought it back, and then it sat on their lot for 4 months. Meanwhile, the price of the Model 3 dropped a ton during those 4 months. So I guarantee they bought it from me for more than they sold it to whoever they sold it to.
Totally.
And it still worked on my phone for 4 months.
Oh yeah, wait, no. So you could You could track it on your phone, or you can get into
I
it.
honestly still had the summon feature. I didn't ever try it, but I had summon
It
on my
comes
phone
back to you.
for a car in Utah.
You know what? I want it back, and it just finds its way home.
Yeah.
So they
And they charged me for supercharging it at the Salt Lake City station.
So, I've been ghosted and negged from Tesla press cars, right? I had a car that was scheduled, a dual motor, and the day before it was scheduled, I criticized Elon on Twitter for lying about robo-taxis, and my loan was canceled abruptly, and I was fully ghosted, and they've never written back to me since. But I really enjoyed my regular Model 3 in the city, like as a city car. It was like lovely.
Which one do you have?
It was like I got it off Turo. It was like I didn't buy one, but it was like the mid-range, whatever, 240 miles, something or other. It was like a really nice like city car, but it felt kind of unfinished. A little bit like some trim fell off it, if I'm honest. Some trim fell off.
Yeah, I think
It was the rubber that went above the A-pillar on the driver's side.
I think the Model 3 interior is a case of Tesla thinking that they're farther along than they really are on autonomy. And so if you look at that interior, it's designed very well for autonomous driving because there's nothing. Yeah. And it's like, well, if it's autonomous driving, why do you need anything other than a screen if you even need a screen? And so there's nothing there. But there is no autonomous driving, so you look between the wheel like you would look in any other car, including any other Tesla, and there's nothing there.
Actually, I kind of did enjoy that. I thought that was cool. I think the elimination of no central gauges drove me nuts when I first saw it, and then when I drove it, I was like, oh, I can put the steering wheel anywhere. I don't have to consider what I see through because I like a really low steering wheel.
Yes.
Normally that blocks gauges.
Right.
And
It's
the
also-
fact that it did it was cool.
It's also must being crazy though. Like I remember Tesla PR once told us like, yeah, Elon doesn't like holes or vents. So he told the engineering team, you can't have any vents in this car for AC. And they're like, what the fuck, man? And he's like, figure it out. And then he goes off to like tweet at Grimes or something.
You know what I think?
So like that's what they're having to fucking deal with is this one wacko.
Over the top of it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You know what I think turns out to be a huge advantage, though, of their vent style? So it's got this long, if you have ever looked or haven't seen inside of a Model 3, it's just a long vent that goes from one side of the car to the other in the very front. What I think is a big advantage of it is if you put the air on full blast in that car, it is way quieter than full blast on a car where all the air is coming out of a little hole. Because it's spread out through this giant space. So you're like,
that's good.
You're like, wait a minute, it's not on, I don't hear it, and you keep turning it up, and like, really, you're getting a lot of flow, but you don't hear it as much.
That giant orifice is not continuous behind the surface of the dash. It's got to come from some small.
Well, no, but that's okay. But nevertheless, because it opens, you get the same air volume. But he's saying it's just quieter doing it. He's not saying it's more effective. He's just saying it's
flow out
quieter.
as fast.
Yeah.
So you don't get like blasted with it, which sometimes is nice.
The blast is good.
Yeah,
the blast is good.
But you don't hear like I hate when an AC on full is like the most annoying thing because it's just like. you're like, I don't want to listen to this.
You know what drives me nuts? When you have a car where the AC is blasting and it's hot as balls and you're cooling it down, and you make a Bluetooth call and it shuts it down to minimum fan, and you feel like you're gonna die, and you're like, and you're trying to make the call. You're like, how do I make this go? You feel like you're gonna fucking die. Oh, it's the worst. That's it.
Back to where you were earlier, though, Jason, with what is luxury. I think there's been an equation that has happened where minimalism.
Sorry, we're on mic.
Where minimalism in the Tesla interior is equated with luxury, and I think that isn't really the case. I think for some people it is, but I think the issue that I have with a lot of the Tesla interiors, they don't seem luxurious because they just feel like we did simple. And then the category behind that is, but it's so modern that it can be simple and it's luxurious. Like, no, you just did the simplest thing possible as far as look is concerned. If you take something, a car that is complex surfaces, and Paul can speak to this much better than I can because I'm not a designer, but if you have a car with complex surfaces and they've done it well, and it is pleasing and it flows well and it's good materials, that feels like somebody actually cared and honestly spent money on it versus just, I gave you panels. And then in the case of the Tesla, they gave you panels and they said, no, it's luxurious because it's modern. It's like, well, no, it's just simple. There's been an interesting equal sign there that I don't...
I'll defend Tesla's exterior styling. Their exterior styling is complex and expensive.
So, but what about, like, how would you say that kind of plays with Apple? Because, like, everyone has all these ridiculous flip phones with all these buttons, they're crazy, and then Apple comes along and is like, no, we're just going to have a sheet of glass, we're done. And then everyone's like, yeah, it's beautiful and it's amazing.
Yeah, but
the sheet of glass felt expensive.
The design is inside the glass. It's not. They flipped the design from being a tangible thing to inside the device.
But did Tesla not do the same thing? Because I mean, they're not serviceable by consumers. Like, you can't see anything other than.
I think Todd's talking about more of the things you touch, right? Are you talking about the stuff that you touch? Because I would say that, like, a Model 3 has like a $35,000 interior in a $60,000 car.
I agree with that.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. I agree with that.
I think he literally means the materials and the stuff that you're touching, and
but
the
like
structure
it's
of the seats
layout.
and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Here's the sheet. The end.
And I think it's simple. I think it's simple to a fault. It's simple for economy. Let's be honest. It's simple to make it cheaper to make, and I get that. I get economy of scale there. But then from a PR perspective, which is the thing that Tesla does wonderfully, it's sold as, no. We didn't do it cheaply. We did it more modern, and that makes it luxurious. I'm going, there's not necessarily an equal sign there. For some people, yes, and for others, no.
It comes down to materials. I mean, do you have wood floors in your house? Do you have laminate, or do you have actually wood? When you walk around barefoot on your wood floor, what? Well, the laminate looks like wood. It should be wood because it looks like
that. I like that gray laminate they're putting in everyone's Airbnbs right now. I call that the fugazi. It's the fake gray wood.
And you walk on it and you're just like, yeah, this is nasty and cheap, but it looks like wood. It should be fun.
It's got real wood in it.
Yeah, but you're talking about luxury. Luxury, the word, is a marketing term. It's about turning bullshit into gold. That's all this stuff is we're talking about. It's all bullshit turned into gold. Like Tesla's the master at turning something into something that it's not. And you like engineering, which is interesting to me because Tesla does not make the best decisions to make a car. They're building a tablet on wheels. So what they're doing is not the most efficient design to make a car. It's just, how do we cost cut? How do we get people fooled mostly on the marketing aspect?
Well, how can you say that they're not efficient when they have some of the most aerodynamically efficient designs and they also have some of the best MPGEs out there? I mean, like, from an efficiency standpoint, they do very well.
Okay.
Like, Jaguar I-Pace does really terribly with the efficiency aspect, really well with the, like, yes, this interior feels nice, looks nice, drives nice. But like from an energy standpoint, they don't do well.
See, I guess this is where, like, I watch your stuff, and this is where I think it's really interesting because you take the approach of, like, this is awesome. Look at everything they did. And then think about in 10 years from now when a Chevy bolts in a junkyard because nobody's going to be able to afford to get a battery pack, or a Tesla you can't get serviced at a regular shop, or a taillight cost you $1,000, and all these things that people don't think about after they buy them. They're so infatuated with the cool part of them But then you don't factor in all the bullshit that goes into it. After the marketing and the hype is gone, and you just have a car that you can't service, you can't repair. Parts are expensive. They don't have a good distribution network for parts or warehouses like Toyota does. Like, you can get a ball joint from Napa Auto tomorrow for a Toyota RAV4.
There was a company, I forget who the company was, in Detroit. It was a research company that takes apart cars and benchmarks them for OEMs. And they took apart, I don't remember if it was Model S or Model 3, but they denuded it basically. And they found...
I'm sorry to say, Jim, I've never heard that word. What does denuded mean?
Stripped it down to its bare essentials.
Okay, anyone else know that word? Just me? I don't know.
like a tree after a storm.
I heard being neutered.
Yeah, you get that too.
Off like a prom dress. How about that?
Cool.
And they found horrific inefficiencies in the way that the structure of the car was manufactured itself. There were pop riveted panels and horrible welds, and it looked like a high school project was put together on the basic structure of the car.
Was this a 3?
I don't remember if it was a 3 or an S.
It was a 3 when it came out.
Was it a 3?
It was totally
It was an early 3.
It was rushed out. It was the ones they were building outside.
When you're talking about manufacturing, you're not talking about efficiency.
But efficiency.
I'm
it's
talking
not just
about
efficiency.
quality.
Efficiency of build.
I'm talking about quality. That car, 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, after it's done 50, 60,000 miles, is going to have horrific problems.
Well, they have an 8-year, 120,000 mile on their warranty.
But didn't we start with with defining luxury, right? So luxury can be defined as the way that Jason defined it earlier as low NVH, the electric powertrain, stuff like that. It can also
absolutely a factor.
Right.
I think in that definition, the electric car kills it on that. Exactly where you want.
Right. It could also be defined the way that Bentley defines it: heavy, wood, leather, thick glass, insulation. That kind of stuff.
The way I define it, or at least I've thought of it, is it's being able to do whatever you want. It's being able to save time the way you want, be isolated from noise the way you want, go as fast as the way you want. It's like choice. It's the elimination of bullshit from your life because you've paid more to eliminate the bullshit from your life.
Saving of time in the carpool.
Yeah, the
lane.
Volt.
That's luxury. That's luxury. Is saving of time or more space.
Private jets.
Yes.
The most luxurious car I could think of would be an electric Phantom with a HOV sticker on it.
There's a great article in The Intercept about Eric Prince, who's the Blackwater guy.
Yeah.
Giant
crazy dollop. If you listen to Dollop about Eric
he should
Prince.
be in prison. But anyway, you should read the story. It's really good. But there's one line that says that he's a billionaire. He gets up and does whatever the fuck he wants that morning because that's what billionaires do. That's luxury, is being able to do whatever the fuck you want because you have the money to do it.
Betsy DeVos's brother, by the way.
Yes. Yes. Both, so
Secretary of
a garbage
Education.
family when you think about it.
Eminently qualified.
Like I have more money than God. I have these 2 kids. They can do anything they want with their lives. One of them wants to privatize all the schools. The other one wants to privatize war itself at every level of it.
Yeah.
Anyway. Back to the cars.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Jason said, I think he said it perfect. It's luxury is, I truly believe it's a bullshit marketing thing, but it's subjective. Because each one of us has a different idea of what luxury really is. And, for me, when you look at the whole scope of building a car, like you said, if you're going to build a car that is just piece of shit put together, but it's great for those first 5,000 miles when the press are driving it, when we can get rave reviews, and then some poor asshole stuck with it at 60,000 miles and you can't get parts to fix it. What is that luxury really? It's really faux.
It poses the question.
It's Apple luxury. It's all disposable crap.
Quick question, and then I think because we're at an hour, I'm going to call this and we can go back to just straight drinking. But
which is why this meeting was called.
But is I would like to get everyone's opinion on this because we all have a lot of experience with both new and used cars. Is the manufacturer, let me change the wording. How long is the manufacturer responsible for their product? Are they responsible for their product? Warranty. What do you think? 10 years, 100,000, 3 years, 5 years? Patrick, how long should a manufacturer be responsible for their car?
Ethically speaking, I think forever.
Forever?
Fuck it. Yeah, why not?
Okay, Jason, what do you think?
Warranty, because that is what they are saying. This is how long we say our car lasts, the end. So that's a marketing decision, but it's also an engineering decision. So when you tell an engineer you're going to make this car, it has to last this many miles, an engineer engineer's job is to do that at the lowest cost possible. So what they want to do, ideally from an engineering perspective, is if you say it should last 60,000 miles, the perfect engineer makes it last 60,000 miles.
60,001.
That's not the service life of a car. 60,000 miles is not the service life of a car.
That is what the manufacturer is guaranteeing. Anyways, that's my answer.
Okay, Mark, Savage Geese, what do you think?
I would say the answer is your car you just sold. Why does Lexus have the reputation it does? Because they last forever. It's not about just what's the coolest thing. When you have something that lasts, people remember that. Like, that's why GM's in the shitter. Yeah. Why does nobody want a fucking GM? It's garbage. I mean, the people that buy them because they're at a price point, but then they're disposable. So, like, engineering aside, you can come up with the best, you can have the best engineers, you tell them, we need to build something that's shit, that only lasts for X amount of time, they did their jobs, but in the end, the customer gets screwed. I think it should be a lifetime thing in the car if you want your reputation to last.
All right, Jim?
As long as fucking possible, lifetime if possible.
Okay. Paul, Todd, what do you guys think? You guys get collective opinion. I'm sorry.
We do.
You guys made your show about two people. I didn't do that. So you guys get to have one collective opinion for your show.
Okay, from a design perspective, the depressing thing you learn as a designer in school is that everything you design will end up in a landfill at some point, whether it's in a year or 50 years. How you design it, the materials you specify. But I'm kind of with you, Jason, about how the warranty, essentially, because from a design perspective, you're making a new product at that point. You're replacing this one, and we're on to the next. And the new one is what we want to sell. We don't want to sell this old one anymore.
They don't care about it. It's a business. That's the sad reality. Is they just want to sell more. They don't care what happened in the past.
It's actually I approach it from the same way, but a design perspective.
Well, let's end this show on. It's funny that we bring it around to that because we're here to drive the new Supra, and the old Supra, the last Supra, the Mark IV, out of the box, it was a nice car, but it wasn't anything particularly outstanding. It's the fact that it could handle a ton of horsepower, had an aftermarket support, and durability is a virtue, but durability is not a virtue appreciated on a press launch. So how do we handle the new Supra, knowing that the old Supra was only kind of cool if you either modified it or made it last a really long time? So what do we want to say about the new Supra? And sorry, Patrick, but before we drive it, what will make the new Supra appropriate to us enthusiasts, knowing that we can't test for durability? Anyone want to throw something at that, or is that too tough a question?
There's another problem though, and that is the Supra that everybody's in love with, that this one can't possibly compete with, is essentially a hype machine beyond its station. Okay, because of the people that tuned it, and then because, I hate to say this, because of the Fast and Furious movies, 100%. It becomes this icon that is this untouchable thing that I don't care what the Supra sitting outside this building was going to be, it could never possibly measure up.
And yet the Eclipse hasn't. Go figured.
Yeah. So this is the problem. We're dealing with a car that has grown beyond itself. Yeah. So that's something that the current Supra, I don't care. I honestly, even if it's the greatest car I've driven tomorrow, there will be haters because the other one has gone way beyond what it actually was in the minds of the consumer.
I like that. That's excellent. Anyone else?
I would agree with that. I would also say that the aftermarket support for that last generation Supra didn't exist when it was new. It took a couple of years for the aftermarket, at least in the U.S. market, to catch up. So the 900 horsepower, the 1200 horsepower, the 1500 horsepower Supras that did 7 second quarter miles didn't happen right when that car was new. It took some time.
Yeah. To echo what our everyday driver friends said, at the presentation we had this morning, I don't know if he's going every way, but Jack Hollis, who's a longtime Toyota exec, I think he runs Toyota brand America now. He used to run Scion, but he's been in this company almost 30 years. He says to us, Supra did okay in the 90s. That was the word he used. It did okay sales-wise. Yeah. And if you look at their sales numbers, like every year after 93, they just plummeted because the price went up because of emission certification, whatever. It did okay. But what
all those cars were priced out of existence,
basically. Right. Yeah. But what changed for the Supra, he even said, was Fast and the Furious. He goes, and that was 3 years after we discontinued the car. Yeah. We discontinued in 1998.
DeLorean.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. The only reason one remembers the DeLorean is in Back to the Future.
I just listened to the John DeLorean Dollop. Do you guys listen to the Dollop? If you don't listen to the Dollop, you should. American History Podcast. It's fucking great.
Fascinating.
It's really funny. And they just did a John DeLorean one. It's extraordinary. Are you guys aware that John DeLorean was a fucking lunatic?
Yeah. Is this based on
I just learned that.
Is this based on that Outland story that ran last year? Was the myth you have about John DeLorean, he's like the great man who challenged GM and lost. That's kind of bullshit. He was actually a fucking psycho. He was a fucking psycho. He was like Elon Musk if instead of like saving the world, he's like, I want to bang as many underage hookers as I can.
Yeah,
that is my dream.
He was, and I'm a DeLorean fan. And he was a grifter, a straight grifter.
There's a movie coming out with Alec Baldwin.
Is Alec Baldwin playing John DeLorean?
Yes.
Oh my God, there's nobody better. There's nobody better except maybe Stephen Baldwin. Well, that's the Smoking Tire Podcast live. Where the Salamander Resort?
Yeah.
Salamander
That's
Resort.
where we are.
Middleburg, Virginia. Patrick George of Jalopnik. Jason Fenske of Engineering Explained. Mark, I don't even know your last name. Savage Geese. Don't matter. Jim Resnick. Paul and Todd of Everyday Driver. It's an all-star Smoking Tire Podcast. I think we should make this a thing. This was fun.
This is awesome. Yeah.
We're gonna have to figure out a better audio solution, but this was
not
this was
with no power.
no. This is fantastic. We'll do it again. Thank you all. Thank you all for listening. I'm sorry there's no video, but you know what? That's fucking life, and I had to do shit. So that was great. That was great. Good night, you fucking fucks. Bye.